Welcome to the To Be the Church podcast, where we explore what it looks like to truly be the church in today's culture. It is Good Friday. Every Friday is a Good Friday because we have the To Be the Church podcast, but this is actually Good Friday, and the excitement on your guys' faces was beautiful there. I'm glad that we are on YouTube so people could see that excitement.
Yeah, Easter week, man.
Easter week.
Big time. Huge.
Why are you laughing?
Ben, you are... What's wrong with you?
I don't know why you're laughing.
Yeah, me neither.
Okay, so I want to do a few things today. First, do you guys remember, because this is episode 290-something of this podcast, do you remember back in the day, maybe you don't because you weren't here, but we used to do this segment called Anonymous Comments.
Yeah.
Dude, have you heard any of our Anonymous Comments episodes from back in the day?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, that means no.
Yeah, right.
But so early on in this podcast, we would get these anonymous comments on Sunday mornings in the offering bucket or wherever they came from, the little connection cards.
Yeah.
I remember the one about his clothes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Early on.
And then we would...
I still have that jacket.
That wasn't anonymous, though, right? She just...
Dude, now that we're on YouTube, we should wear that jacket. We should rotate it. That jacket that squeezed the biceps. Dude, I want to see you in that jacket.
Break that jacket. Look at that
rip
CrossFit
that thing
bod.
off of it, dude.
That's another beauty of YouTube.
Dude,
Look at that. Hey, zoom in on him.
No.
Zoom in on him.
Ben,
Look at those muscles.
rip-
Give me a bicep. Give me a bicep.
Rip the sleeves off of it, and you could
I know
wear
where
the
you
jacket
live.
with no sleeves, bro. And then
Yeah.
the sleeves wouldn't squeeze your biceps.
All right.
I'm blushing.
What did we talk about a few weeks ago?
I want to walk
tempting
down to my
other
office
people?
right now and grab that jacket.
All right. So, but anonymous comments, we had these for a while, and it was a really fun episode. These episodes were, because what it did is it allowed us to both expose these ridiculous things that people say, but then also it got some really good conversation. So I went back and I found some that were old because we don't get them anymore. At least either we because we make fun of them, or because our assistants stopped telling us because we were doing this.
Too many
with them.
people were leaving the church.
Yeah. But some of my favorites, and I don't know, have you seen any from Camus Washougal? Any good anonymous comments?
You ever get anonymous comments over there? Come on.
I haven't yet.
I did see
know.
one at one point on a thing that talked about the American flag being taken away.
Yeah.
And I also just recently heard, maybe it was from you, that like a few people who left the church about the American flag blame me for it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm cool
Why
with
do
that.
you hate America, Ben?
Well, because Tyler does. And I just followed him.
But here's and some of these, like I said, there's fun, and then others were like, opportunities to talk about things, both in our local church and then just like philosophically why we do things. But here's a couple that I found when I was searching earlier today. Hey, I noticed the crosses are not lit up. We used to have these like cross lights on the side.
That was way back in the day.
Yeah, and it said, "Did Rick Warren tell churches to remove all crosses?" That's what the anonymous comment said.
Yep. When I got that text from Rick, man, I was like, really,
right, yeah.
Rick? And then I was like, yes, master. And then we removed him.
Another one, a lot of them are music-based, just because people have strong opinions on music. One of our mutual friends.
Or because we have a lot of problems with music.
Yeah, one of our mutual friends.
We did.
One of our mutual friends, he's a pastor, and he said music is the one thing people are still going to be arguing about in heaven.
Yeah.
But
really?
I think that's theologically correct. But this one says, please, 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 3 pleases. Please, please, please turn down the volume on the music. It takes away from the entire experience. Here's another one. This one's great. The music today was sweet and mellow. It drew my heart out instead of beating it to death with bass and drums.
So it drew your heart out into a place of complaining, like a whiny
That's
place?
like a great backhanded compliment, right? It's like, oh,
Yeah.
thanks for today, because it usually is awful.
Yeah.
But I don't know. You don't have any?
From CW?
I don't know.
I don't know if on a card. There maybe have been some little comments, but...
Dude, I think, okay, there's a conspiracy. I'm calling conspiracy. Why do we not get these anymore?
I think it's probably because our administrative team just doesn't want us talking about them.
Okay, well, you're kind of in charge of that.
That'd be Nathan.
That'd be Nathan. Well, we got to get those again.
All right.
What's going on here, man?
We need some fodder for this podcast.
It's been years.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten an anonymous comment.
My former church, we had a ton, but...
They're hiding them from us. Dude,
I just got a text from Cody behind the camera that says Max throws them away.
That's not true,
Cut to Max. Someone smack that guy.
True.
That is not accurate. Oh, my goodness. Okay,
right.
we need them. So I don't know how to do this. What, you say something to Nathan?
Yeah, we'll get him. We'll get him.
All
and
right.
if not, we'll write some. The most recent we had was about 100 episodes ago, which was the person asking us to replace the communion bread with chili cheese Fritos.
Oh, yeah.
And so that was the most recent. But that was 100 episodes ago. That's 2 years.
2 years, man.
All right, that's not what we're talking about today. I just thought that was fun to bring up again and maybe we'll see some anonymous comments, just people wanting
Yeah,
a
guys,
shout out on the
come on,
podcast.
help us out here.
But we do this segment on here that we've also done since the beginning called lyrical analysis. And I'm going to explain why we do this, because recently I had someone tell me that, literally somebody said this to me. They said, oh yeah, I have a few friends that listen to your podcast. A couple of them like it, but one of them thinks that when you guys do lyrical analysis, you're the most arrogant jerks in the whole world.
Oh yeah,
and so
that's why we do it.
Yeah. But it made me pause and think, like, okay, is this helpful? Like, should we actually keep doing that? Because I don't want to be seen as a jerk. Like, I don't want to be seen as arrogant.
You don't? Okay.
But
I do.
Who are we being a jerk to?
I don't know.
Everyone.
But I don't know. But like, here's the thing though, is we do this because we want to look at lyrics and say, like, is this helpful for the church, right? Are these lyrics, and these are the things that we put songs through, are they true, clear, and compelling enough for us to be willing to bring it before the congregation on a Sunday morning? Kind of in the same way that as you're reading a quote or a commentary, like, is this true, clear, and compelling? Is this something I want to bring into the sermon? Is this something I want to bring into the liturgy? And honestly, when people send in questions, the majority of the questions that people send in are lyrical analysis questions. So we have like 6 songs we could do.
Popular segment, eh?
Yeah, so let's start with this one.
Hey, and we admit as we do this, I think we say it every time, that we're being super nitpicky probably, right? And, so I think we acknowledge that. But we, I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of one of these songwriters that's like, how would we feel, Ben, if someone took our sermons on their podcast and did sermonic analysis on them, right?
So let's get right to it. Lyrical analysis, and kind of one of the only bummers about being on YouTube right now.
What song are we doing?
It's called "Another in the Fire" by Hillsong United. And so this was sent in by somebody asking us to analyze these lyrics. But one of the only negatives about being a video podcast now, being on YouTube, is that we cannot play the song audio while we're talking about it like we usually do. And the reason for that is because of copyright laws, and YouTube doesn't want to get in trouble there, so they'll shut us down. So we're just going to read the lyrics. And I think that's actually okay, because what we're doing is we're analyzing the lyrics. We're not analyzing the sound and stuff like that, because so many different churches pull from different musical genres for their musical worship, and that's great and awesome. And we're not here to analyze that. So I'll read some lyrics and we can just talk through them. And remember, our goal here is to say, is this true, clear, and compelling? Is this helpful for the church to sing?
And to be big jerks.
Yeah. All right.
So jerks.
There's a grace when the heart is under fire, another way when the walls are closing in. And when I look at the space between where I used to be and this reckoning, I know I will never be alone.
Why is that? Next phrase.
Here's why. There was another in the fire, standing next to me. There was another in the waters, holding back the seas. And should I ever need reminding of how I've been set free, there is a cross that bears the burden where another died for me. All right, let's stop there and talk about it. I was very confused that first verse. I don't think I've heard this song. So I was like...
Really?
Yeah.
Your Spotify playlist is different than mine, I suppose.
I've never heard this.
You haven't?
Nope.
Man alive. My Spotify playlist has a mind of its own.
You think that, but it really just knows your true desires.
So...
you want to listen to Lauren Daigle all day long. So,
so this is not true.
Yeah. Go ahead.
This is one of those classic frameworks from the beginning. This is first person singular, right? So individualistic, and we're thinking from the standpoint of the pronouns being used, and is this clear, compelling, and what's the other one? True. Is it true? There are some images in here, obviously, you would almost call it maybe biblical imagery. But this is, I'll call this song testimonial. This song is testimonial in the sense of first-person singular pronouns, I standing next to me, experiential, individualistic, subjective, right? They're talking about when I felt this way, and when the walls are closing in, when I looked at the space between where I used to be and this reckoning, I know I will never be alone. And then going into the reason for that being the presence of Jesus, which Jesus is Emmanuel, God with us. So that's good. I mean, he doesn't say anything about Jesus here necessarily, but I'm reading between the lines. There was another in the fire standing next to me, Daniel 2 reference. Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. You might know them as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. There was another in the waters holding back the seas, reference to Exodus. Although I'm reminded of that text that he sent a wind, so he did it naturally. There was no Christophanies there of the actual presence of God doing that. Anyway, and then, and should I need reminding of how I've been set free? There's a cross that bears the burden for where another died for me. There's another in the fire. So, yeah, that's what I've got so far.
So, yeah, let me stop you for a minute. And you talk about the individualistic first-person pronouns, testimonial stuff.
Subjective.
I would say that on its own, none of those things like are disqualifying for a song. Like as I'm looking through it. Now, I'm going to be very careful about the types of songs I place around that song in the course of a gathering. I'm not going to do 5 of those songs in a day because that'll do something that's not super helpful in our eyes.
So maybe not disqualifying for a song. That would be disqualifying for a set list, though. If the whole set list was all first person, and we're here together as the church, and we're all singing about our own little testimonial journey.
Yeah, and when people send in these songs, I look through the lyrics and I think, why did they send this to us?
Yeah.
What do they want us to talk about? Like, what do they see in the song? And usually they just say, hey, could you do lyrical analysis on this song? And that's all we get. And so I'm wondering, again, this is the first time I'm looking through this song. I'm wondering if they're saying, is it true or is it helpful to kind of say that we are Shadrach and there's, or that we are Israel in the Exodus story. So I'm wondering if that's where they're going with this. But let's move on. Let's keep going.
Well,
or go ahead.
Just off the top of your head, Andrew, if you were preaching Daniel, I think it's 3 or 4. This story
feels like 2 to me, but whatever.
We have Google. We could check, but
Daniel 6 is the lion's den.
Right.
Feels like 4. I think you're right.
Yeah.
3.
3 or 4.
We should not be taking this much time on this.
So
we know.
Why not?
No, but here's the thing:
3.
if you were preaching that, I know
3.
you would obviously spend a lot of time studying, preparing that. But do you?
As I have I do that.
You do that often. Yep. Do you anticipate that you would preach that the fire and the presence of a fourth in the fire with them would an application point be that's similar to the opposition and persecution we face and how Jesus is with us?
Yeah, likely not.
Okay.
I likely wouldn't. Just like I don't preach about the walls of Jericho being such and such or Goliath being such and such.
Because to me, this
I likely
song
wouldn't. I think it violates a little bit of the context of reality. Then to now anyway, but that's a whole homiletical nitpicky thing.
Well, I asked that though because I think this song is implying that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
In the same way that God was with them in the fire, that he's with us when the walls are closing in, and which again is he with us? Of course. Like he's with us in our suffering. The end of the Great Commission, Matthew 28, Jesus is with us always to the end of the age. But I agree with you, and I think maybe it's a little bit of a leap of kind of getting that from Daniel 3 and making that a direct application.
This is teaching us theology, so it's teaching our people theology. So if we're singing this in the church, we're teaching them to read those narratives in that way, which we don't preach them that way. Right. If somebody preaches in that way, preach him that way. But this is where people are like, he's such an arrogant jerk, but we wouldn't preach him that way.
Yeah.
And so I think you've said from time to time, like, hey, if your church is going to preach him that way, sing it that way.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think that a lot of the lyrical analysis, arguments on the internet, like among music pastors and stuff like that, can be settled by just saying, like, how would your pastor preach it?
Yeah.
I mean, if so-and-so is going to preach it that way, this is Hillsong, if Houston, whatever his name is, if that's how he would preach Daniel 3, then like this song could be true, clear, and compelling from the point of their context.
But we would say definitively that's not our context.
Right.
And there's a reason that's not our context, that we have convictions on the way that the scriptures are written and the way that those narratives should be read in their context, that would violate some of our theological underpinnings, if you will, like our view of some of those things. And it's the same with, I was hearing a song on my playlist the other day that just came on when I was running, and I thought, what is this? And so it was talking about circling the walls. Like, I've been circling these walls of Jericho so many different times, and I was like, I actually was listening to it. It was a good tune. It's always great music. Like the musical tune is good. And so, and then but I'm a lyric guy. And so as the lyrics began, I'm running and I have to take my phone out of my pocket to skip something, and so I'm like, it's good music, man, but do I skip it? And then they're circling the walls and they keep talking about it in the opening stanza. And I'm like, I just can't. So I had to take it out of my thing.
Do you not have AirPods?
I do.
You can double click.
I know, but then I end up trying to double click and then it pauses it and then the ear thing falls out and I'm running and it's just like, dude. And then I'm out in the country, so it falls out into a ditch somewhere and it's eaten by a chipmunk and then half my earpods are gone and it's useless. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, man. God's with you during that. All right.
In those
He's
moments,
in
I remember that there's another in the fire. Yeah.
All right. So let's move on. I don't want to do all these lyrics because I'm looking through them and
repetitive.
Yeah, but here I think let's go here and then we'll move on to the next song. I can see the light in the darkness as the darkness bows to him. I can hear the roar in the heavens as the space between wears thin. I can feel the ground shake beneath us as the prison walls cave in. Nothing stands between us.
What the heck?
What? What's wrong, Ben? What do you got?
Can they? Like,
Ben didn't grow up in Pentecostalism, Ty.
Dude, we talked about having an episode where we talk about Ben overhearing Pentecostal conversations.
As you were, we should be talking about that right in this moment.
Maybe
but
later.
as you were singing, or as you weren't singing, as you were reading those lyrics, I was over here going like this. Like,
so the Apostle Paul felt the ground shake and the prison walls cave in, right? Like he was.
That was Peter, wasn't it? Or no, Paul and Silas.
Paul and Silas. Yeah. So
there was an earthquake with Peter too.
Yeah, there was. Yeah. But this person is saying that they can. Like what is that? I don't even understand what they're trying to say.
Yeah, it's the personific, or it's the reference point to anywhere in Scripture. Those were probably not in view. More in view would probably be the day of Pentecost. The place they were meeting, was that place shaken? I think it was, Acts 2. And then
it says the prison walls cave in.
Oh, yeah.
Where does that come from?
Yeah, well, that's got to be those Acts accounts then. Yeah. So,
yeah, I think a lot of these songs, and a lot of just Christian radio songs in
Heaven
general.
Coming to Earth, dude.
A lot of Christian radio songs in general just like kind of like take pictures from Scripture and just kind of like do this. And if you're watching on video right now, this is better than the audio people. But it's like, all right, I got all these things in my song. Like,
it's all fair game.
Yeah. And so,
just make up a whole new
but again,
religion.
and as we're doing this, and another qualifier, but as we're doing this, like we're saying, is this true, clear, and compelling, and helpful for the church to sing together?
Yeah.
Now, we've had songs on Lyrical Analysis before that we've just said, no, we wouldn't sing that here, but it's a great devotional song. Like, it would just take too much clarification. And so, but yeah, I would say for this one, I don't, like, we wouldn't preach much like there's like 8 different places in Scripture to go, and we wouldn't sing them that way.
And I don't think it's true. I think I would put that this song in the true, clear, compelling. I think it's unclear how they're trying to utilize these images, but I think what they're doing theologically here is actually not true in some ways. God with us is true. Emmanuel with us is true. The cross is true. They make references to those things, but if you read the whole song and the theology that it's leading you to, there's a lot of non-true things in here that make it unhelpful, right? And so I don't think we just wouldn't sing this. I think it would be one that, here's the thing, this is being played on Christian radio and these kind of things, and this is forming the theology of our people and of those, who are like singing it and learning it and those kind of things. And it's not that the Lord can't use all sorts of things to comfort his people, to assure them, to do all those things, but this is one of those where there needs to, if you're going to buy wholesale into the message that they're preaching through this song, you're going to need some deconstruction of your theological framework to have sound doctrine. So that's why I think it can be really unhelpful. But
yeah, to me, it's just it's a confusing song. I don't really know what they're trying to say or what they're talking about, and yeah, I don't. I definitely wouldn't. It seems like the lyrics are written with the purpose of trying to get some sort of emotive response. Yeah. Like, I can feel the thing shaking. Like people getting all this experiential thing. I'll be interested to listen to like the actual tune of the song if it's that kind of build up type song.
Oh, it's real catchy.
But yeah, I just don't. I agree, Ty. There's some songs I wouldn't sing in church, but I actually really enjoy personally and devotionally. This one I really have no desire to.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Next one. You guys can look it up. I'll read the lyrics. It's called "Battle Belongs," and it's by Phil Wickham. And this one I should let you know that my almost 2-year-old son, this is the song he wants to listen to all day, every day on the TV. He'll be like, Babylon, Babylon, Babylon. And anyone else who was at our house, is he saying Babylon? It's like, no, he's saying Babylon.
Didn't we kind of compare this one to This Is How I Fight My Battles? Remember me and you? We watched the saxophone video.
Max is shaking his head no, that's not the one. So,
no, okay. Yeah, Max is wrong, but that's okay.
All right, so, all right, here's the lyrics. When all I see is the battle, you see my victory. When all I see is the mountain, you see a mountain moved. And as I walk through the shadow, your love surrounds me. There's nothing to fear now, for I am safe with you. Chorus. So when I fight, I'll fight on my knees with my hands lifted high. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. And every fear I lay at your feet, I'll sing through the night. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. And if you're for me, who can be against me? For Jesus, there's nothing impossible for you. When all I see are the ashes, you see the beauty. When all I see is a cross, you see the empty tomb. And then chorus again. We'll do the bridge in a minute. But so far, what do you got?
Well, 1 Samuel 17:47 says, the battle is the Lord's. In the ESV, and that all this assembly may know that the Lord saves not with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hand. That's 1 Samuel 17. So we're talking about the David and Goliath narrative there, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the battle belongs to the
I
Lord.
usually don't like battle songs. Because they end up being.
Well, it's how you fight your battles.
Yeah, well, like that's a great example. They end up being super vague. It's like, what are you talking about? Like "This is how I fight my battle" says "This is how I fight my battles" 84 times, and it never tells you actually how. It just says this.
Well, that's because this is how I.
Yeah, this is.
Battles,
But like as I've like listened to this song, and as my 2-year-old has listened to it like almost 1,000 times, like I feel like this one has a bit of a different vibe to it.
Just because you like Phil.
I do like Phil, but no, I think the reason I think that is because it is still Godward. A lot of the and there's a couple lines in here. Like if we were to sing this on a Sunday, if I'm just being honest, I'm going to do something illegal and say, "When all I see is the battle, you see the victory," instead of "my victory." I'm probably going to change that, which is not allowed, but I do it anyway. But like things like that. So like I would probably just shift focus a little bit on that spot. But I still feel like this song, at least what we've read so far, is very Godward in like how in both the like what the battle is and how God's role in it. Where I think a lot of these songs are just very feel goody, like I feel good about whatever this battle is because I don't know. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So if that last one was more testimonial, this is kind of not necessarily testimonial. This is more maybe confessional in the sense of a commitment. Oh God, they're God's being addressed. So instead of, in that last one we had the singer kind of just telling us a whole story without any reference really to God other than all these images, whereas this one, oh God, the battle belongs to you. So then, even though this one's super first person-ish though, right? So I think, and that's why, Ty, you're saying you'd change the "my victory" to "the victory." We're still taking in spirit a little bit though. I see some discontinuity with the last one and this one. Okay. I don't think this one is nearly the level of that last one that we did, but I still do see some, again, 1 Samuel 17, I would not preach 1 Samuel 17 that way, this way, right? I would not correlate the my battles, fill in the blank or whatever the heck that means, with the David and Goliath thing. And Goliath is all the things I'm going against, and David is me. I wouldn't preach it that way. So
well, I would say though, here's what I'd say. Whereas the other one, it's like there's another one in the fire with me. Like that's a very, very clear reference to Shadrach.
He doesn't necessarily quote. Yeah,
Where,
this might not be. Yeah.
Well, I mean, even if he got the phrase from there, like I don't know. It feels less allegorical to me.
Sure.
Yeah, because I think Andrew and myself would preach that text as David is a Christ, he's a type of Christ who is God's anointed, fighting the battle on behalf of God's people against their greatest enemy. Christ is our King who fights our greatest enemy, sin and death, on our behalf. So, with that being said, I mean, the song's focus on the battle belonging to God is true in that it belonged to David, who is a type of Christ, and so he fights the battle for us. We don't do it ourselves. So I do agree. I think in this song there's more of it, like it is more God-word, more God-focused in that way. As
I read the later, I think we just read the first part of it, but
yeah, we still have the bridge.
Yeah, he goes it's pretty Godward. Did we remember Almighty Fortress yet?
That's what the next part. Go ahead.
Almighty Fortress, you go before us. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. Communal, that's good. You shine in the shadow. You win every battle. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. An Almighty Fortress, you go before us. Nothing can do.
That's all repeating from there.
And that repeats again. So in the bridge, he goes total communal. With our God, changing to the plural pronoun there, and the fact that this song is winning me over a little bit, Ty, in the sense of that where it leads to the Godwardness of it, the Godward focus of it, what's funny is I don't know if I've ever even heard this song, but. Yeah.
Wait, you've never heard this song?
I don't think so.
That's what you did to me last song. So
yeah, well,
I think for me,
so the one that we didn't like, I've heard a lot, and the one that we like, you've heard. Interesting.
So this one is co-written by Phil and a Bethel guy.
Yep.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So Brian Johnson and Phil Wickham wrote this one together. But yeah, I think from my vantage point, I would sing this in the local church, and again, I'd probably make that little change in line one. You see the victory is probably what I would do, because I think when I look at songs like this, God is the victor, and like I would try to pull the focus away from some personal victory that I need to have in my life, But.
Yeah, interesting. I'm just wondering if you did sing it, what kind of context you might need to have in the rest of the liturgy to work around it, The battle motif, I think the battle motif is so played in current Christian music, that it might be played out to the point where this could correlate into the allegorical battle stuff.
Here's one of the things I'd say, though, is that as a local church, we don't go into the battle stuff at all.
Oh, for sure.
And so, it would be kind of like a standalone there. What I would probably do is I would probably pair this with a song like Yes, I Will. To where it's like, yes, I will lift you high in the darkest valley, where it would almost, go toward the, in all circumstances, I will praise you. Coming off of this song to something like that is the way I'd go probably there.
Yeah, first line, man, when all I see is the battle, you see my victory. That might lose me if I'm in a local church, personally. There's sometimes I'd hear songs in local churches growing up and I'd see the first line and I'd just go, oh, I can't.
You'd be like this.
Yeah. That's why the beauty of the video podcast there, Ty.
All right, we could do like 5 more songs, but let's call it a day. We have a bunch of these. We'll do some again soon. And again, our hope is not to be jerks here. Our hope is to help music pastors and church leaders think critically about the songs that you're singing. And really think that through. So if this raised questions, or if you want to submit a song, podcast@tobethechurch.com is the way you can do it. You can do it in the YouTube comments on the video that you're watching. We'll see it there. Otherwise, have a great...
Can I make one more comment?
Do it. He was
gotta have the last word,
man. He was rapping it.
Gotta have the last word.
Put the last piece of tape on. Do it. Of the rap.
Episode 280, me and you talk about this, how I fight my battles, and you bring up this song.
Do I really?
Max, in your face. Take that.
Wow, Max.
Whoa.
And that we talked about that amazing saxophone solo.
Did I miss?
You were out that day. So, all right. Have a good Easter weekend, everybody, and we'll see you next Friday.